Welcome back to the Gus and Rus Show. I'm Russ.
I'm Gus.
And today, we're into October. We're into the spooky month. And I figured we'd take today to discuss our favorite horror movies. As Gus knows, I'm a cretin and I really only enjoy horror movies. I mean, I've watched other movies, but...
Is it cretin or cretin?
I think it can be argued going both ways.
Like data and data?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I've heard it said both ways, and I've never heard anyone call out either side. So I think it's more. It might even be like a regional thing. We say cretin down here, but I have heard like other countries will say cretin. But I enjoy horror movies. I don't know quite why. That's like the one movie I really can force myself to watch.
It reminds you of home?
Reminds me of home. Reminds me of my past life. Also, I think it's more like Gus definitely knows this because of the music I listen to. It definitely fits along with the style of music I listen to. I like the aesthetic of it. I don't know. I like storytelling that happens in a lot of them. So, and we've each chosen about 2 or 3 movies each to discuss today before we roll into our next episode, where we will be back to our usual challenges and movies and album quizzes. But Gus, you want to go first with one of your movies?
Yeah, sure. So the movie I want to discuss first is one that I really dig. I think it's one of the few ones that can definitely, despite the differences, can match the novel it's based off, and that's The Mist, Stephen King's The Mist, which is directed by Frank Darabont.
Absolutely.
I think Frank Darabont is like a director. You don't probably know his name; it's not a household name, but you know his work because like he did The Shawshank Redemption. I think it was his directorial debut. Then he did The Green Mile, then some other movies that weren't as good. And then he did The Mist, this one, and then he went on to go co-create the Walking Dead TV show left after the first season, which actually coincides because the first season was like the best season. He's a very talented director. For sure, I think the show's in this one because this is arguably, I think, prior to it releasing, the first part at least, this was arguably the best adaptation of, actually no, I think I'll take that back. The third best adaptation. Frank Darabont's directed all the best adaptations, the Shawshank, Green Mile, and then this one, The Mist. But this, in terms
is that your definitive order of adaptations for Stephen King?
Yeah, and I mean, it probably supersedes The Mist, the first part at least, but then the second part really drags it down.
I gotcha.
But in terms of just this film, I would say first off, I really do like the Lovecraftian vibe. I think it goes. It's probably arguably the most Lovecraftian because it's really going to never really explain where they come from or what they really look like or anything like that. It's just sort of like alternative dimension. Like technology developed by the military creates a hole and then all that goes through.
Bunch of blanket terms that don't really mean anything, but
yeah,
it's your typical Stephen King magic that happens that doesn't really have to explain it too much. As long as it says a word, you kind of buy it, go along with it.
Yeah, I mean, he does explain in the novel like where Pennywise kind of comes from, how he works. But this one's definitely more so kind of like, it's kind of like a everyman perspective because it tells from like this guy. I can't remember his name. The guy's played by Thomas Jane, who is probably mostly known for being the Punisher. And then he's just a normal everyday dude. He goes out with his kid to go like grocery shopping. Then Mist surrounds the whole store, and then he's locked in with like a bunch of people.
And then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, I think there's several things.
The one thing I know about this movie, because I have seen The Mist, I think it has one of the saddest endings of any movie I've seen.
Yeah, that was probably one of the main things I think that because even Stephen King, he said like he wished he thought of that ending because that was a lot better than what he did. I can't recall.
I don't know how the book ends, but I know how this one ends.
My understanding is that the book is a lot more. I mean, I haven't read it. From what I've heard, it's a lot more. What's the word? Ambiguous. I don't. This one though is pretty definitive in how it is. I'm not going to go super into spoilers with it. Also, a surprise cameo. Actually, I was rewatching it like a couple weeks ago, so I want to kind of bring it up here. But have you ever seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah, I love that show.
Captain Holt, he shows up in this movie.
Does he actually?
Yeah, he's one of like the skeptics who goes out with like the other group of people who think that because initially what it is like the everyman he goes to fix a generator with like a couple like people who work at the store. and then a tentacle pops out of nowhere, and it doesn't go where you think it's gonna go. There's no Japanese person there. It wraps around this bag boy, and then basically pulls him like into the mist, and everything, and it's like, oh shit, we saw something in the mist, and Captain Holt's like, nah, you're full of shit. Then he goes out, they never see him again.
Do we ever see his death on screen, or is it just one of those ambiguous deaths where he just kind of goes out into the mist and never returns?
No, it's like, so what it is, like, it's very ambiguous. I mean, he dies, but it's off screen. Basically, it's like he kind of goes in the mist, and he's like, over time, you see like less and less people, and you hear screams in the background and stuff as they're all dragged away, and that's just him. And then he kind of looks up, and then cut to a different scene. But I think the main thing that makes this film so good is, besides its real dedication to kind of like sort of the idea that you can showing something on screen is like, it makes something way less scary. As where it sounds like we can probably come up with our own minds something more terrifying, because it's more subjective that way. What scares us than anything the movie could show us.
Absolutely. Imagination is one of the biggest tools of the horror writer, is letting someone else decide what happens. Yeah,
that's why H.P. Lovecraft was probably so successful, because his whole shtick was like, oh, it's so terrible, I'm not going to even describe it, and then you're like, oh man, that sounds pretty bad.
It sounds pretty rough. I wonder what it is.
Except for Cthulhu, because he's like the only one I can think of who has like an actual, like, that Lovecraft actually drew him.
Cthulhu is, I think, the only Lovecraftian monster that has like a definitive, like, this is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's like offshoots and stuff, but I think that's the only one he ever drew.
Which is now why we can all make like really cute Cthulhu little monsters and look at that, because we know what it is. It's a little octopus guy.
Yeah, thank you for that, Russ.
You're welcome. That's I do have part.
Yeah, but then for the I think performances are what kind of really solidify this film. I mean, off the bat, Marcia Gray Harden as Miss Kermode, who's like this chick who's like thinks she's like basically develops like a Jesus complex. She's probably like, she's incredible. She's the best performance in this film, bar none. She's like an awesome villain. I think Toby Jones as Ollie is like fucking as a total badass. He's super he's like one of those characters, like he's super unassuming. And as the film goes on, he kind of shows like he's a badass in his own way. Like he's not like your typical action man like Thomas Jane, but he fucking just like there's this great scene in the pharmacy where they're being attacked by these giant spiders. Everything to kind of describe him, and he just kind of comes up and he's like shoots a spider like dead on the face, like stone cold.
Hitting the shit.
Yeah,
now he ain't down with that fucking Spider-Man shit.
Yeah.
But like in that pharmacy, and also there's like probably one of the most horrific death scenes I've ever seen, where like there's a guy gets webbed up to the wall, and you don't see it first, but apparently they kind of like, I guess xenomorph style, and like kind of embedded a bunch of like babies or eggs in the body. So then dude falls over, and like a bunch of like blisters and stuff appear on his skin, but it's not blisters, it's the little baby spiders crawling out of his back, and he's still alive during all of that.
Yeah, for people who are like scared of like swallowing bugs in their sleep, it's not a movie for you.
That spiders in general, it's a pretty
it's pretty spider centric.
Pretty spider centric.
Even the I'm not gonna get too like specific on this, but like even the big boys at the end, they're not spiders. Like they got a bunch of legs going on there. It's like a weird like spider brontosaurus mix.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting but I think it's probably one of the best horror films of the 2000s.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best Stephen King adaptations done by, I think, arguably the king of Stephen King adaptations. Like honestly, I think they probably should have gotten Frank Darabont to do The Dark Tower.
Who do they get to do it?
I don't know. Can't recall his name, but they probably should have gotten Frank Darabont, because in my, I think he's the only one who like Stephen King has said like doesn't need permission to adapt something. Like he just needs to come to him with an idea, and Stephen King will probably okay it, like without even really doing his research, because he trusts Frank that much. But yeah, outside of that, I think it's a really great Stephen King adaptation, and where in a world where we have like just a couple good ones, and then like a whole large
just pile of shit.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm gonna say right now, just I think some of my least favorite Stephen King adaptations are the Pet Sematary movies, the originals and the remake.
The Pet Sematary, isn't there one is that one with crop circles, or is that a different one? Like
no, that's the one where like they bury There's a cemetery where it's like on an Indian burial ground.
Oh, no, I know Pet Cemetery, but then there's another one, right, where they're in the tall grass.
In the tall grass. I don't know what you're talking about that one. I haven't seen that. It sounds like you're describing Children of the Corn, but I know that's not it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not.
It's not The Stand. No, it's not The Stand.
Yeah. So the first film that I would recommend if you haven't seen it is The Mist by Frank Darabont.
It's a phenomenal movie. For what probably shocked Gus is every movie that's on the table right now. I've seen all of these.
It's more than one. It would definitely shock me.
Exactly, it's 4. It's crazy, and all these movies are solid movies. I'm definitely a fan of all of them. On my side of my table, Gus, I'm sure you've noticed that both movies that are over here we've gone and seen together.
Yeah, in theaters.
And I'm gonna start with Midsummer. You know for a fact how much I loved Midsummer when we saw this.
Yeah.
We had like a 2-hour discussion in the movie theater parking lot after this movie. And I just think it's great. I think it's it's Ari Aster. He did a movie you're gonna discuss later.
Oh no, I'm not discussing that. I'm discussing a different one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Well, we have another Ari Aster movie in front of on the table, just over there.
Yeah.
The movie is Hereditary, in case you want to know what's over there. Don't you dare throw that. It's a Blu-ray. I thought it was definitely... I guess the word I want here is, after seeing Midsummer, it leaves me very hopeful for the future, like where horror is going. Because I'm sure you know this all too well. In the mid-2000s, excluding The Mist, there were some very shitty horror movies. There was this season of remakes that happened where everything got rehashed. Films like Final Destination, which I don't like. We got into a weird like torture porn kind of category for horror. The first Saw was fine. The rest of them go up or down. Just that kind of style. We got kind of weird with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. Yeah, I mean, there are a few good ones, but they're not. They're very either like more independent or they are like foreign for the most part. The big budget horror films we got in 2000s were mostly remakes. I think the one thing that was up with Ari Aster is I think he has said he wants to move away from horror, which is a bit of a shame because I think here's the thing about Ari Aster. Really, I do not know how he does it, but somehow he manages to get like this like absolutely animalistic sense of grief out of his main actresses. Like Toni Collette and Florence Pugh were like back to back. Like a lot of people were saying, oh, like they could be Oscar contenders, which is a big deal because the Oscars historically don't really recognize horror. Like I think The Exorcist was the last horror film. Like the original Exorcist, 73, was like the last horror film to get really any notable nomination.
Sweeney Todd was one of them, but that's been very debated whether or not it counts as horror. Or
yeah, because one thing is like it's musical, it's like timber, it's like it's a different beast. But then like until like Get Out really was like the next one to really get any credibility.
So that's when did The Exorcist come out?
73, so about a period about 40 something years.
So yeah, that would make this highly significant to drum up some Oscar noise.
Yeah, because it's very rare. I mean, and even then, Get Out only really got the credit not because it's a horror film, because it's a horror film with a social commentary on top.
And the fact that it was Jordan Peele, I think that probably helped the film a lot. Jordan Peele like put his name on it.
Well, a little bit, but I think at the time, I don't know about for horror, because at the time he was sort of like, oh, he's a comedic guy.
Well, I think that helped win over some voters. The fact that it's Jordan Peele.
Oh well, yeah, I mean maybe name recognition, maybe. But I mean for this film, I still think Hereditary is better. I think it's a tighter story. It's more. I think it's all around a bit like more deeper. Like I'm trying to think here. It might be hard to say. I mean, I think all around it's better acting. Florence Pugh is amazing. This outside of that, the performances are okay or they're solid. I didn't really like Jack Christensen as the boyfriend.
He seemed kind of flat the entire movie.
A little
bit. Kind of seemed like he was going along with it. Didn't really have a lot of emotion in it.
Yeah, probably hurt the fact that I don't know how much it kind of like hindered him the fact that it's not his natural accent. Maybe.
I mean, we're gonna bring this up. I'm gonna bring this up later in the next film I discuss.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not always sure how much having to do different accents gonna really affect a
Well, like for lesser, for like not lesser is harsh. For like for actors not as used to, because like I mean I know who you're talking.
Oh, you see exactly what I'm about to say. Well, Laura's taking that.
And she's honestly very good at it, but I think like for instance like a guy I think is Jai Courtney.
Yes.
Who is played he was Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad, plays now. He was good in Suicide Squad when he's doing the natural accent, and then other films like not Die Another, but like Die Hard, the fifth Die Hard film, whatever the hell it's called, because there's too many films.
Die Even Harder.
Die Even Harder. That, and then Terminator Genesis with a Y, because they're cool. That was like he did American accent, they were both terrible. And then he did Australian accent, and he was good in it. The film was bad, but he was good in it.
I got you.
But yeah, Midsommar, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting because it's a horror film that is deeply unsettling and terrifying, but it's in the daytime, which is kind of cool.
It's definitely a fun thing to be able to like see everything like clearly.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous too.
The cinematography is phenomenal. We discussed this quite a bit after the movie. The cinematography in Midsommar, it might be some of the best I've seen, and especially in a horror movie.
Yeah,
it was absolutely incredible. It blew me away. And like the only real place I think that Midsommar faltered a little bit is I think they left too many things up to interpretation, to where it just kind of leaves the story a little too open. They do kind of wrap it up in the end a little bit, but even that can be like, even though they kind of like say like why, like what the point of it was to let go. But it's still like it can still be argued like for other things, like other reasons for it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things like, my thing again, I think it ties again to grief with Aster. This is my interpretation of the fact that like, that it's sort of about letting go, like like toxic relations, letting go of toxic people, and sort of people who choose to find new family, and how that can really help with the process of healing or the process of like developing, going through grief. Like it's a thing where you kind of have to open up, but notably like. Because like from the get-go, like you look at like one of the things that's kind of interesting looking back is like when they first arrive, they're kind of cordial to everybody else, but then they're very warm to Danny. They hug her, they say welcome home, all that stuff, and then of course the whole thing with like choosing her to be the queen, all that stuff, or like engaging with her a lot in the activities, and then kind of like everyone else sort of just go the wayside. Granted, I think. Probably didn't help that Will Poulter pissed apparently on a heritage tree or whatever it was. And then, what's actually kind of cool too was the Mike Myers thing. You remember that? Where there's a scene where like they bring up Mike Myers, the film, or they bring up Austin Powers, starring Mike Myers. And there's a scene later on where there's a guy wearing a skin mask that looks like Michael Myers. So I thought it was a cool nod.
No, I was trying to figure out for a second which Michael Myers you were talking about, then I realized it's both of them.
Yeah, I think, which is, I think that's a gag that's been done twice in the past. Like it was done Baby Driver, and then it was done here in Midsommar.
I still haven't seen Baby Driver, but it's on my shelf. I need to watch that.
Yeah, you do. It was really good. I think that I think it's a really good film. Still, I think it has atmosphere and like themes and like acting out the wazoo. I just think like the story could have been a bit tighter, but I think it's still probably one of the best horror films. Like I mean, horror is definitely like having a resurgence these past couple of years.
Absolutely.
So I'm definitely excited for what comes next from Ari Aster or Robert Eggers, who did The Lighthouse, or any other films.
Going back to like Jack Rayner, I think it just hurt him that he was next to Florence Pugh the entire time.
It kind of does.
Like when you're having to compete against Florence Pugh doing just absolutely crushing it, and you have to share screen time the entire time, like almost the entire time. You're in a bit of a pickle. You either gotta nail it, or you're gonna do it happen there.
Oh, his name's Jack Rayner. What did I say? I said
his name is Jack. The actor's name is Jack Rayner. The character's name
is Christian.
Yes.
What did I say, Jack?
You were like, I think you basically said Jack Rayner without the R. It was like you were like Jack like Aidman, something like that.
Yeah.
You got the first name right, but
yeah, it was some it was Irish Mick drinking Irish. I don't know. I mean. I think overall, I think he was kind of a bit stealth. It wasn't the best performance, but I think he was definitely. I think even though like the acting was, he was definitely willing to go and do weird stuff and definitely kind of be out there as an actor, which then kind of helps. But yeah, Florence Pugh definitely stole like every scene she was in, but it makes sense because she's like, because she had like a fucking year. She was.
She had like what Little Women like immediately after that.
Well, like 4 or 5 months after, yeah. So it was like Fighting My Family, which I enjoyed, which you saw, and then it was this, and then it was Little Women, which she got nominated for an Oscar for.
Did she win?
No. I think for supporting, I think it was Laura Dern, A Marriage Story.
Okay.
But she was good in it. I felt like Florence Pugh could have definitely. I think she did. I think that was more kind of like one of those like lifetime Oscars. Like, Laura Dern's been good for a long time.
And you've been good for this year.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Overall, I love the movie. It's one of the few movies I can rewatch and have no qualms with anything. Like, I can sit down and rewatch it again, and I'm not gonna be bored. I think one of the most upsetting things Ari Aster can pull off, and you and I have discussed this, is that Ari Aster has a knack for always having one really just upsetting death scene at both his movies.
Yeah.
In Hereditary, it was, I forget the little girl's name.
Charlie.
Just against the phone pole, and it comes out of nowhere every single time. Midsummer, it kind of shows you get a little more foreshadowing what's going to happen, but it was, I think in the theater, it was just the thud and like having that sound like all around you because you're in a theater. Goodness.
Oh yeah.
He's very good at that. Sound design crushed it. Cinematography crushed it. It's overall great. Loved it, and that's really all I'd say about Midsummer. I loved it. I can't really say anything negative other than just next time be as good as Florence Pugh, Jack. It's my only request.
I mean, she's going to want to do a lot of other things. I think I'm still kind of ticked that Toni Collette didn't even get nominated for Best Actress. That's ridiculous. But when it comes to like horror, it's whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go with my second film.
Okay.
Let the Right One In, which is definitely like so. There's two versions. There's
I've never seen this one, so I'm very interested to hear about it.
Yeah. So like there's two versions. There's like the American version and the Swedish version. I'm going to talk about the Swedish version.
Okay.
So I'm looking at directed by Thomas Alfredson. I also didn't know it was based off a book. But the basic premise of the film is that there's like this kid. He's like in middle school. He is like kind of a bit of a loner. Gets picked on a little bit, and he meets this girl one day who lives in an apartment complex, and they slowly start to kind of build a friendship with because they're young. It's like they're about that age. Like there's like so romantic undertones you kind of get with kids that age, and then also it turns out like there's like kind of little hints here and there. But ultimately, you kind of find out that she's, a vampire.
Okay.
And, like, one of the things is, I think, that I really kind of enjoy about it or kind of find interesting about it is, so Twilight is, like, this is a weird shift, I know, but Twilight to me was always kind of a bit of a disappointment because the premise sounds cool on paper, actually. Like, you take the love triangle BS and all that, but, like, the idea of, like, a girl falling in love with a monster... or like any person falling in love with a monster.
Yes.
And if you really break that down, what that entails. Because basically it's like, falling in love with like Ted Bundy or like or John Wayne Gacy or any...
Which people do.
And stuff like that. And then it kind of break it down to show kind of how terrifying that can be when basically... Because it's like, it's like, a lion, it's like a gazelle falling in love with a lion. It's like they are the apex predator, you are the prey, and yet you still want to form this sort of weird romantic attachment to them. Even though like they would, like anything, there's that scene in Twilight where she slices her hand or something like that, and she bleeds a lot, and they almost kill her. It's like that's a threat that could happen. And
it's a weird way to look at the third person theory, which is, this could happen to everyone else, but I'm the safe one.
Yeah.
It's always fun to like look at that through like this kind of view.
Yeah, and it like I think the thing is also, and the thing though that I enjoy about this film over Twilight is that this does not shy away from the more horrific aspects of what a vampire really is, which is a apex predator that hunts down and kills people without any shred of remorse. And what she does, there's some pretty, it's it's European, so there's like some pretty fucking violent death scenes in this film.
Yeah.
So pretty. That's one of the things they'll probably drop it because it's European. It's a bit more violent, there's a bit more swearing, and it's probably a bit more There's some sexual undertones there too, because like again, it's like two middle schoolers. But so like, and like I watched those like in high school, so I was like, oh, it's whatever. But now being an adult, I'm like, this is a little bit creepy. So that that's a little bit control. I'm not sure if that's like intentional or not. I mean, who knows? But I think that even despite the kind of weirder scenes in the film, there's some still truly great shit that I think the directors of Twilight or films like that could have learned from the idea of what being in love with a monster entails. It has, I think, really good. I mean, and also another knock. I guess not for me, but for people, it's like is Swedish. It's subtitled. I think the American version is fine. It's not as good though, because it doesn't, because it has to take all like more of the horrific, bloody elements out. It kind of loses its punch with the idea of like, oh, this is what happens when you fall in love with something that will fucking eat you. And I think that, but overall, it's like a really. It's probably one of the best foreign horror films of the 2000s.
Okay.
I think it definitely something because Swedish, like for a while, like they had like that. They had like another film called Troll Hunters, where it was like a documentary of them trying to find like actual trolls.
I've seen clips of Troll Hunters.
Yeah, so where they had some, and then like more commercially successful, but kind of not as interesting was like Dead Snow.
One that came out of Europe, not that far like east of Europe, but like Eastern Europe, but I think it came out like I think it was mid 2000s. I think it was like 2006, 2007. Wreck out of Spain. That was good.
Oh yeah, the one with like the.
It was the found footage.
Yeah, that's the thing about Spain. About European horror in general. They do a really good job of like taking the everyman approach to like a classic horror trope, like like for.
They'll take very honest routes to do it.
Yeah, like you look at things like Zombieland or something like that, where the route they go versus something like Wreck, or even like more serious zombie films like Dawn of the Dead or something like that. They always skip over the initial stuff because they just want to go a full blown apocalypse.
Yes.
But Europeans are like, no, we want to see the
build up to this.
The build up, and I think that kind of you sort of uncover. I think also it's probably for the best because it sort of creates suspense because you know what's happening, but they don't know what's happening.
It also helps you develop your characters a lot better.
It does.
Because you get at least an extra 30 minutes to be like, here's all the characters, here's what we're doing, here's what they do, here's what they are, and now we're going to put them in this scenario later on.
Yeah, I think it might be because it follows the quote-unquote hero's journey a lot more cleanly because, there's the class... Because the first part of the hero's journey is, was it the normal world? And there's more time in that versus generally, to think of another one, Dawn of the Dead, which is the 2004 version, which is a solid film.
Yes.
I think it's arguably, to this day, still Zack Snyder's best movie.
Probably.
Kind of like it skips over all of the normal world stuff and just goes straight into, okay, well, we're now in a crazy zombie apocalypse land.
Do you think that's based off, essentially, like, the audiences they're made for? Because I feel like American audiences would just naturally just want to go straight to the action. That's what they paid the money for. That's why they're there. And maybe over in Europe they have more patient audiences, I guess is what I'm trying to insinuate there. Do you think that could be a cause for that?
It could. I think it also could because I don't think it's because Europeans are quote unquote more intellectual or anything crazy like that. I think it might be a matter of the studio system in Hollywood because they only want to invest in something that
that they can easily sell.
There's a slam dunk, makes money. Because look at this, the budget for this is not huge. It's like $4.5 million.
Yeah.
And it made its money back. So it's not like a big investment, but if you're a studio, it's well, we can't have this and that because we have to make it PG-13 because we're going to put it in theaters. Or because also when it came out 2008, so right before the height of the Twilight Saga, or right in between the height of when the first film was coming out, or already come out. So they're like, oh, let's make it like Twilight. Let's make it a cash grab. And that probably would not have worked versus making it in Sweden, where I imagine Twilight was not as huge as a seller because it's it's a foreign book and it's not or maybe it was. I actually don't know how well Twilight sold. I mean, it sold a lot. I know that.
It sold a shit ton.
Yeah, no, Stephanie Meyer's fucking ranking in some dough.
They're the most dramatic book covers I've ever seen in my life.
They do, but on the plus side, she doesn't say terrible things about.
Right? No, she's actually stayed on the rails pretty well. Proud of her.
Yeah. But
I don't understand how she ever passed Rowling as far as the sanity category goes, but here we are.
But I think the main thing with Myers is the fact that I read a bit of the first book, and it's not like a bad book or anything. it's just kind of boring. And then I think the film just kind of made it work. The only thing that was really in my mind is unforgivable was the whole weird pedophile subplot thing they had going with Taylor Lautner or Jacob and like the baby. That shit was weird.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, let the right one in. Really weird Swedish film. I think if you look past like the more European aspects of it, I think you can find a pretty solid, like a film like what Twilight could have been and probably should have been if it wanted to be cool. And then so that's all I have to say about that. Moving on to your last film, this is probably, I notice you're going to be more recent. I've gone both 2000s. You're going both late 2010s. But yeah, let's get into your film. Last one.
The last one. It's another movie that me and Gus we saw together. We went in theaters and saw this. I don't know how much you can really call it like a pure horror. I think it's more classified as a dark comedy.
That's fair.
Either way, a bunch of people die in this, so I'm gonna counter it as horror. There's a lot of really good effects in the movie, and honestly, I think it's Samara Weaving at her best.
The film style's Ready or Not.
Yes, I was getting to that. I was building into this, but yes, it is Ready or Not.
Well, I mean, I didn't know because you're going for 30 seconds. So, like, did
know.
you forget the title?
But even though it's right in front of me.
Yeah, I mean,
my ability to read is questionable.
Yeah,
so
it is.
safe.
I mean, I've seen your record.
Yes.
When it comes to these things, but like, yeah, I mean, I think one of my favorite parts about that movie is like, there's also a play comment like the fact like they recognize the fact like, oh yeah, these are some like upbeat like or not upbeat uptown super mega rich hoity-toity top 1%ers, and they don't usually go out and like kill or do anything like really like hunting or really like anything like that. They don't do anything physical.
Yeah.
Right. But yet they're still required every 10, 15, 20 years to go and pick up these crazy medieval style weapons and use them. And I love the fact that the film uses that premise and just plays it straight for comedy. Like reality ensues. Like, oh yeah, no, they suck with this stuff. Like
3 of them have no idea how to use the weapon they're given.
Yeah, like
one of them's on the toilet looking at videos on YouTube how to use a crossbow.
Yeah, because
2 maids accidentally die because they don't know how to use their weapons correctly.
Yeah, but knowing 1%ers, they don't count as people.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's definitely a highly creative idea, like the premise of the movie.
Yeah.
The only thing I found weird was of all the games in that little LaBelle's box, of all the games, only one of them requires you to kill someone. That seems a little. I feel like there'd be more, but I can move past that pretty easily.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of worried about the idea of because it's built around the idea of hide and seek. They could, if they're going to do sequels, which they could do.
They can make multiple games.
They can make multiple boxes with a different game. There's a different family where it's like, it's like fucking Monopoly. I have no idea.
Murderous Monopoly.
Murderous Monopoly. Or Clue. Clue would definitely be a good one.
Oh, that would be a good one. Like Real Life Clue.
Real Life Clue.
All of that.
Operation would be fucking horrifying.
We're calling Hollywood tomorrow. But we haven't said it yet, but the game they end up playing is hide and seek. And if you can imagine playing hide and seek while the 1%er is chasing you with a crossbow, this is your movie. It's fun time. Samara Weaving absolutely crushes the entire thing.
Yeah, it's a. I'm trying to think here if this one actually made it. No, it definitely made its money back. Holy shit. $57.6 million.
What was the budget like?
$6 million.
Oh, so it did slightly better than Midsummer. Because Midsummer was made for about $9 million, and I think they made $47 million off it.
Yeah, well, look at those poor sons of bitches only making $40 million profit.
What a shame.
What a shame. Fucking
get those numbers up.
Those are rookie numbers. It is interesting. I think it's one of the main. But I think that this resurgence of horror is definitely I hate to say it, but one of the people I think we have to kind of credit with this resurgence in horror is Jason Blum of Blumhouse, because for every 10 or 15 crappy Paranormal Activity, the Mark whatever thing they did. They releases in January for $1 million, makes $20 million. He doesn't spend any money. He makes money back, and it sucks. He finances films like Get Out, or I think also he was involved with Us and stuff like that. And it's I think the horror's found its niche where it just, instead of making these big budget remakes that fail,
yes,
they just give up and comers a couple million to make something that,
and give them their fair shot.
You give them a fair shot. And if it loses money for Blumhouse, he's like, all right, well, that kind of sucks, but I make these Exorcist knockoffs, or at least found footage stupid movies that teenagers go see, because I know I'll make like 20, 30 million. I make money back, I make a profit, and I make money to make, give the next Artur. Because eventually you get a Get Out where it was made for like 15 million and it grosses like 700 million.
Is that what it made?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. It made more.
Goodness.
Consider this. It made, so Justice League was made.
Wait, Get Out made more than the entire Halloween franchise combined.
It did. It also made, well, not if you include the first one and all the money it's made in a lifetime.
Okay, fair enough.
Because the first one alone has made 500 million across like all the re-releases and DVD sales and blah blah.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
But this was like one where it's like, oh, like this is like, you can actually make a good horror movie, make a profit. So that and A24, which I think was like founded like 15 years ago, and it's like pretty much been like a result of like a bunch of like Ari Aster, Robert Eggers.
It feels like every movie we've gone and seen lately, or not lately, but like you and I have gone and seen recently, has been like an A24 picture in some fashion. Well, even Uncut Gems. Uncut
Gems. Well, consider we haven't been to the theater
in 5 months. We went in I think we went in like last February or something.
No, we didn't go to February.
It was in winter.
I think it was Christmas. We went to see Uncut Gems the last time we were in a theater.
Oh, it's been almost a year since we've been in theaters, but
2020 is a knockoff year. It's cool.
Yeah, this year doesn't count. There's an asterisk next to it.
Yep.
But no, A24 has definitely been helping out a lot, I think.
Yeah, because I think the sort of thing notice is like, my film not just like, it's like sort of, I think it's kind of interesting because the two things is like, obviously, we had the golden age of slasher films and stuff in the 70s and 80s, and it kind of went away in the 90s and 2000s when you had like Leprechaun in the Hood and like Jason Takes Manhattan, and then there was a lot of good stuff from foreign markets because they were building their own film. Because like basically foreign directors would go to Hollywood to make their money, then come back and then fund the next generation, and then that's why you look at a bunch of new foreign directors from Eastern Europe and China and South Africa making money, or making films that make money, and now they've and now at this point now for certain foreign markets are like China's market is now competing with the U.S. for like the largest film market. Like, was it the 800? Is now the highest grossing film in the world, with like $500 million, and it's all made in China.
Goodness.
Yeah, you know what the second highest grossing film in the world is?
What?
Bad Boys for Life.
Is it actually?
It is. It's also the highest. It also is currently the highest grossing domestic product. It's beat out Tenet.
Bad Boys for Life. Oh, yeah, goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, Tenet's away from like the movies we're talking about to the greater scope. One of the things is I'm really excited for this Oscars because just about every major contender I can think of has moved to next year. Like, I mean, one of our friends will probably be sad to hear because she's a big fan of Dune. Dune got moved to next October. The Batman got moved to.
We have a whole another year until Dune.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Batman got moved to 2022.
Antler's been moved to April.
2021. Everything's been moved. Like the Death of the Nile, I think it's probably it moved to Christmas. It's probably gonna be moved. I think everything I can think of has been moved to next year.
There was one movie that wasn't moved that I got to see that I am very happy with.
What?
Antebellum.
Antebellum.
That was good. I like that.
How's the theater experience been? I haven't been there.
Oh, I didn't see it in theaters. They released it on
VOD.
They released it on like Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah.
And I liked it. I mean, I probably would have liked it more in a theater when I'm not distracted by a bunch of shit around me.
Yeah.
I think that's what hurts me a lot when I watch movies in my apartment is, I'm watching a movie, but then I can go make popcorn, or I can go play with my hamster, and there's just other shit that happens. And move in a theater, I'm just kind of stuck there. That's my one option.
Yeah, and I think that that is and also the fact that they're moving that, but that plus the fact that really like domestically, Tenet is not like Tenet was the one temple film. Like, oh no, we're gonna release it in theaters. Has done terribly. It's like the budget of like $200 million, and generally with those films, the ballpark, like basically the rule of thumb is however much money you spend on production, they probably spent that much on marketing, maybe more. So, and there's been reports that maybe it was more part because there's reports that like it was going to be like $500 million for Tenet to make a profit, and the film was grossed $300, so it's set to lose at least $150 million.
Which is never a good look.
No, because the film was set to it was supposed to be like $1 billion movie, probably.
I don't see that happening.
No, not anymore.
Oh.
And yeah.
Even off of DVD sales and like foreign markets, I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, I think at a certain point they just have to give up and put it on VOD. It's the only thing you can do. Because New York, Los Angeles, other major markets are not being opened back up.
Well, even the ones that are open, like Alabama, we're closing back down again slowly.
Oh yeah.
I think Regal just closed down.
Well, yeah, because there's no films being released. They need to make money by new blockbusters, and none of those are being released. So there's no point.
Well, even if they were, I doubt that many would really go.
Well, that's why they're not going to release. Because no, we're gonna release it later, and try to make money then, recoup our losses.
When people feel safe to go to a theater.
Yeah, but the thing about that is that even again, like they might be till like next year. But I'm interested in the Oscars because, right, basically the only things that are going to be nominated is like anything released between like January and April, which is like when most of the dog shit's kind of released. So
It's gonna be very interesting Oscars.
So I'm gonna start right now. We need to campaign for Jim Carrey to earn an Oscar nomination for his performance in Sonic the Hedgehog as Dr. Robotnik.
I'll vote for that.
I'll
write to my center about that.
Okay, but back to the movie that we were discussing.
Yes.
I would say that it's really, I think even for non-horror fans, I think it's still enjoyable because it doesn't really focus too much on the horror aspect and definitely skews more dark comedy. I would say that it probably has one of the best ending, little one-liner quips I've heard in a while. But yeah, I mean, outside that, I think horror is definitely on the right track to like get a bit of resurgence going, become like a more dominant. I think it's doing it now. It's definitely like becoming a more dominant film genre. At least outside of superheroes, which is still gonna just like fucking make billions.
I think it has my favorite scene of a child getting punched.
Russ,
is that how you qualify movies? Yes, it is.
That child deserved to get fucking punched.
Oh, he got absolutely knocked in next Tuesday.
Yeah, and
to be fair, he did shoot her, so
yeah,
I gotta level that out.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Ultimately, I think that Halloween's there's a lot of great stuff to choose from for Halloween.
Absolutely. All these movies are great choices if you want to watch them at home with your 6 feet apart friends. Maybe just two guys chilling in a hot tub 6 feet apart.
Yeah, because they're not gay.
Yeah, there we go. That's the line.
I mean, I think Netflix has the little.
Netflix has added a bunch of stuff for October.
They
just added House of a Thousand Corpses, which is a movie I like a lot. But I'm very biased towards Rob Zombie, so.
Are you not going to discuss the new Adam Sandler masterpiece? Was it Hubie Halloween? Whatever it is.
I don't even know what you just told me. What is this?
The new Adam Sandler like comedy film, Hubie Halloween or something like that.
What Halloween?
Huey?
Hubie Halloween. What is this?
I'm gonna show you the trailer to this. This is hilarious. I'm honestly the main thing that got me laughing was the fact is he did Uncut Gems.
Yes.
And he almost got an Oscar, and he didn't get the Oscar. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna go do this dumb bullshit.
Wait, he didn't win the Oscar for Uncut Gems?
He didn't even get nominated for Uncut Gems.
He should have.
Well, yeah, he should have. It doesn't mean anything.
It was so good.
I know.
I'm still mad at the ending, but it's fine.
I mean,
I'm still upset about it.
I mean, he's like when you do those kind of movies, I think it also factors into to who the actor is. Because I don't think he got nominated for Punch Drunk Love either, or Steel Magnolias, or what's Steel Magnolias? All right,
they probably saw him on the thing to get nominated. And were like, we're not voting for Adam Sandler, and it was a good movie. I liked it a lot.
No, yeah. Fucking best panic attack ever, 10 out of 10.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's basically it in terms of horror films for October.
Yeah.
We'll probably come back in a couple of weeks with, we're going to do a special, so I guess, not to get to a theme, but an artist, Childish Gambino. I'm going to review his EP.
Yeah, the Childish Gambino EP.
Called EP.
Yeah, it has both names listed on the thing, so I don't. Maybe I can find a video of him saying exactly what he wants it to be called, but
and then you are going to watch The Martian.
Yeah.
Which is the Ridley Scott joint with which he features in a supporting role. I mean, I'm trying to think of what other. I mean, it could have either been that or Solo, but the thing is, The Martian's a better movie. So I
don't know if I would have watched Solo if you told me to.
Oh, you don't like Alden Ehrenreich?
You saw Solo and you didn't like it.
I mean, I thought it was okay. I just didn't think it was it was worth all the it's not a film that should have been that they should have spent $150 million making. The thing
Why did it cost that much?
Because it's special effects and it's cast outside the main guy. There's a lot of A-listers in that movie, but it was just mainly the fact like they just spent all this time sort of explaining things that didn't need to explain. Like we didn't really need Han Solo's backstory. Like we got the gist. Like they had to explain. Like, for instance, they explained like where he got the jacket, where he got the little fuzzy dice, why his last name is Solo. You know how he got the Falcon. Even though we already know how he got the Falcon. How he met Chewbacca, which I guess is kind of interesting. But like that's
the Chewbacca ones. Like the Chewbacca and the Falcon were the only two that are even like pertinent, and we already know how he got the Falcon.
Yeah.
So really, all we need to do is, how do you meet Chewbacca? Let's take him on adventures. That's really all we need out of that.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact, like, I mean, it was a fun little, like, there's a fun little heist to it. Outside of that, like, it was really just kind of whatever.
Is there just a lot of padding in the movie?
There is. I mean, I think it's just like the fact, like, you know, I would have really liked to see what Christopher Lord and Phil Miller did with that. Or is it Phil Lord and Christopher Miller? Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the guys who did 22 and 21 Jump Street and like Into the Spider-Verse and all that, produced it, and Clone High, and then like they were gonna do this movie, and then Disney had to give it to Ron Howard because you couldn't have meta jokes in your Star Wars movie.
No. What kind of sin is that?
No. Okay. Yeah. So off on Soapbox. Ultimately, we'll be back in a few weeks with a Childish Gambino themed episode, and we'll get to explore the highs and the greater highs of Donald Glover's career because that man just doesn't fucking stop.
He doesn't. What a national treasure.
I'm saying so. Anyway, from Russ's abode, cave, whatever you want to.
I think both those words are too nice for this place.
Yeah, I mean.
We got to downgrade a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe sewer drain. Maybe.
I mean, Gulag. I think.
Gulag's still a little nice. Gulag has metal bars.
I think it's more nostalgia factor for you.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm Gus.
I'm Russ.
And we'll see you guys in a few weeks.
See y'all.